This one thing was. Because in front of me.
39 drawn, 39 drawn. Send it on your RMP, please.
You cut your gun in front.
Copy that, copy that.
You have any?
When you're done, it's like before we're in, just real quick, thank you.
Yeah. I'm not one that's gonna be.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chase. How are you?
Good afternoon.
All right, we're going to get started. So I'm Parole Officer Tricello, and I'm a hearing examiner for the Board of Pardons and Paroles. This is a preliminary hearing concerning Rodney Chase, inmate number 390667. Today's Tuesday, January 7, 2025, and this hearing is being conducted via video at the Board of Pardons and Paroles Central Office in Bridgeport Correctional Center. Can you please state your full name and DOC inmate number for the record?
Rodney Chase, 390667.
Thank you. This is a public hearing and public access to this hearing is available via video live stream. Present this afternoon is Attorney Dean and Parole Officer Munroe. Attorney Dean, can you please identify yourself for the record?
Yes, Sienna Dean from the Public Defender's Office on behalf of my client, Mr. Chase. Good morning, sir.
Martin.
And Officer Munroe, can you please identify yourself for the record?
Hi, Danielle Munroe, Parole Officer.
Thanks. So this is a preliminary hearing which has three purposes under Connecticut law. The first is to determine if there's probable cause to believe you committed an act that violates the conditions of your parole. The second is to determine if the act is sufficiently serious to warrant the revocation of your parole. And the third is to determine if you should be held in prison pending further proceedings. The state, not you, has a responsibility to show that there's probable cause to believe you violated one or more of the conditions of your parole. If I do not find probable cause, I will reinstate your parole, which means releasing you and placing you back on parole supervision. If I find probable cause and determine that the act is sufficiently serious to warrant revocation, you may be held in prison pending further proceedings. You should know that a preliminary hearing is an adversarial proceeding, and anything you say at this hearing can be used against you. This hearing is also being recorded. The testimony at today's hearing will be taken under oath. So Mr. Chase and Officer Munroe, can you please raise your right hands? Do you solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
So we're going to go over the procedure for the hearing. So first, I'm going to read you your rights. Then we'll review the parole violation charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you. I'll then review and identify the exhibits filed for the record. The state will then have the opportunity to address the issue of probable cause and the severity of the allegations. And after the state is finished, you'll have the same opportunity. At the conclusion of this hearing, I'll inform you of my findings, which will be based on the available evidence. Do you have any questions about the purpose or procedure before we begin?
No, so sorry. So I was still fuzzy from Lyme disease. I've been getting my meds. They gave it to me for a week. I'm sorry. I'm still a little out of it, but yes, I understand.
Okay, so we're going to go over your rights for this hearing. So the first right is you have the right to an attorney and counsel is present for you. You have the right to receive written notice of the charges of violation. Did you receive the written notice?
Yes.
You have the right to review the evidence against you before this hearing, and you have the right to submit evidence in support of your case. You also have the right to call and examine voluntary witnesses and to cross-examine adverse witnesses. Do you understand these rights and are you ready to go forward?
Can you repeat that?
You have the right to review the evidence against you before this hearing. You have the right to submit evidence in support of your case, and you have the right to call and examine voluntary witnesses and to cross-examine adverse witnesses. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you ready to move forward?
Yes.
So we're going to review the charges that the state your parole officer has brought against you and the underlying information for each charge. So Officer Munroe, can you please read under charge number 1, condition of obedience to the law, the violation details?
Sure. On 12/6/2024, Department of Energy and Environmental Protection Division of State Environmental Conservation Police, EnCon, executed a search warrant to your brother's house, which he lives with his wife and 2 minor children. Your residence is also located on the property that your brother owns. During the cursory search of your brother's residence, officers observed 19 cannabis plants in various growth stages and several mason-type clear jars containing cannabis products were left unsecured. You admitted to officers that some of the cannabis plants were yours. In addition, the residence had several unsecured firearms in plain view. Although the firearms were registered to your brother, you admitted to the officers with the firearms being unsecured, you did have access to them when you were inside the residence. Due to these criminal acts you committed and the 2 minor children living at the residence, you were subsequently arrested for a criminal possession of a firearm, illegal possession of controlled substance, and 2 counts of risk of injury to a child.
Thank you. And can you also read the evidence that you have submitted for the record, please?
Sure. Exhibit A is the parole violation report. Exhibit B is a parole violation notice. Exhibit C is a parolee rights. Exhibit D is a remand to custody. Exhibit E is conditions of parole. Exhibit F is the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection Division of State Environmental Conservation Police, EnCon Police Report, case number 24000025740.
Thank you. Attorney Dean, did you and your client receive the notice of parole violation, the parole violation report, and all the other documents that have been identified?
Yes, you have.
I have not received any evidence from you, is that correct?
That's accurate, yes.
Do you need any time to submit additional?
We do not, thank you.
Okay, so at this time, the state will have an opportunity to make a short statement, call any witnesses, and testify with respect to probable cause and the severity of the allegations. Officer Munroe, would you like to make any statements?
No, I mean, the only statement I have is that his case is still pending through at least his next court date is the end of January. So I would just, the only thing I would say or recommend is just that he, at least stays in until his criminal case is disposed of. This is his first violation, as I mentioned in the his PVR.
Thank you. And Attorney Dean, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, I would. As to the charges, I understand this is a criminal violation. That's the only charge. There's a pending case in court, but there are just a couple of things I want to note for the record on behalf of the client. First, I just want to note that my client reports he was the one who informed his parole officer about this situation. He indicates to me that he did so immediately in the interest of being forthcoming and being compliant with his parole conditions. He did inform her. Second, I think it's important to clarify that my client, it is included there, but I just want to state again, my client does not reside in the residence that was the subject of this alleged incident or this search warrant. My client does reside in a separate residence on the property with a separate entrance. The subject residence in this case is a relative's home. Additionally, from speaking with my client and some other individuals who witnessed the situation, I believe there may be some evidentiary issues going forward. Specifically, we do not believe my client at any point took ownership of any of these items. And I would also just state from the report, it is somewhat unclear how my client was charged with some of these things. Nevertheless, I'm fully aware this isn't the proper venue to litigate those issues. That will take place in the Superior Court GA5 Derby, where the matter is pending. My client's looking forward to working with counsel there to resolve the situation as soon as possible so he can continue doing all the positive things that he was previously doing while on parole. I also think it's worth mentioning my client has been on parole since 2022. He began discretionary, I believe, February 7th, 2022, and then was placed on special parole beginning 3/16/23. My understanding is that in that time, there has not been not so much as a single technical violation. There's been no sanctions, no interventions issued. He has been, I believe, fully compliant with his conditions. My understanding is that he's been working during this time, holding down a number of jobs, and I believe he's been meticulous in trying to abide by all of his parole conditions to the fullest extent possible. Unfortunately, this situation has resulted in the loss of jobs that he had achieved in the community, in addition to a number of resources that he had built for himself. He is really hoping to try and get released as soon as possible to resolve this matter while in the community. I would argue this isn't serious enough on its own to hold him or warrant revocation, and I would argue that he should be permitted to re-enter the community while on supervision and while awaiting revocation if that is warranted here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just gonna take a moment and I'll let you know my findings. So I am going to make a finding of probable cause to charge number 1. condition of obedience to the law based on states exhibit A, E, and F. So, and I also am going to find that the act is serious enough to warrant revocation, and I've also determined that you should be detained while you wait for the revocation hearing. So the records office at the facility and your parole officer is being informed now, but they will be informed of this information. And your revocation hearing will be scheduled upon the disposition of your pending criminal charges. Okay?
So, Mr. Chase, that's what I was describing to you, how I will keep an eye on the court case. And as soon as I see that that's been resolved, I will ask for an addendum to be submitted so we could try and, get the process jump started for your revocation hearing, okay?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. I'll set up a follow-up legal call with you in case you have any questions. Sorry.
I've been having issues with everything. I've been in SEG for 30 days. I didn't have electricity for the first couple of weeks or lights. I didn't have my medication. I barely get out for rec. They skip me for rec a lot. So I'm trying to get somewhere. I've been on transfer detention waiting to be moved. So legal calls, the counselor never gets back to me. I've written him several times. The only time I've gotten a legal call was, the first day, a couple days I was here, and just the other day with Hannah. And I can't put anybody on my phone. I tried adding attorneys and stuff to my phone, and it won't let me add them, saying they're not eligible. So I have no access to talk to anybody really, except for my brother and his wife.
I will email the facility today and ask for them to go ahead and set something up so that you and I can speak within the next week or so. And I'll also keep an eye on in case you are moved to a different facility, so that way I know where you're at, okay?
All right, thank you.
Officer Munroe, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just didn't know, Rodney, because I was in touch with your sister-in-law. So whenever you do get released, pending the disposition of your criminal case, do you have a place to go, or would you need a halfway house?
If you can put it for a halfway, but I do have a couple of options. My girlfriend was trying to call you to see, and also I'm trying to work on getting my paycheck from the auto shop so I can set up an apartment, possibly down in Seymour, either Derby Manor or around there by the Stop Shop, the high rise there. I'm trying to figure out something.
All right, I'll touch base with your sister-in-law.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. I'll set up a call with you soon.
All right, thank you.
All right,
This
thank
is
you.
preliminary hearing for Rodney Chase, and I'm going off the record. All right, you're all set, Mr. Chase. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, bye,
Thanks
guys.
very much.
Bye, thank you.